there is a moment in the open ocean where everything goes silent. No warning, no ripple, no sign that anything is wrong. And then, it's already too late. Because somewhere beneath you, moving without effort, without hesitation, is a predator so perfectly built for the hunt, scientists still struggle to explain how it does what it does. The great white shark isn't just fast, it isn't just powerful. It sees what shouldn't be seen, senses what shouldn't be detectable, and strikes with a level of precision that feels almost calculated. But here's the unsettling question. How does a creature with no technology, no tools, and no second chances operate with such terrifying perfection? Because the deeper scientists look, the less this animal makes sense. The great white shark has been studied for decades. It is often described in simple terms: an apex predator, a top hunter, a product of millions of years of adaptation, a fish designed by nature to dominate its environment. At first glance, everything about it seems straightforward. A streamlined body for speed, rows of serrated teeth for tearing flesh, a powerful tail capable of explosive bursts. It is, in many ways, exactly what scientists would expect from a large marine predator. But that assumption begins to fall apart the moment researchers start asking a deeper question: how does it actually hunt? Because the open ocean is not a controlled environment. Visibility is often poor. Light fades quickly with depth. Prey animals are fast, unpredictable, and constantly moving. And yet, great white sharks almost never miss. Early researchers believed the explanation was simple: speed and strength. The shark would detect movement, charge forward, and rely on brute force to secure a kill. But that theory didn't hold up. High-speed camera footage began to reveal something unexpected. Great whites don't just chase, they calculate. Instead of attacking randomly, they approach from below at precise angles, timed to the exact moment their prey is most vulnerable. Seals, for example, are often struck from beneath at such speed and accuracy that the impact alone sends them flying out of the water. But even that wasn't the strangest part. In many cases, sharks were seen aborting attacks at the last possible moment, as if they had already determined the outcome before committing. This raised an unsettling possibility. The great white isn't just reacting, it's making decisions. And when scientists began to investigate how it gathers the information needed to make those decisions, they uncovered something far more complex than anyone expected. Because the great white doesn't rely on a single sense. It operates using a layered system of detection, multiple sensory mechanisms working together in ways that feel almost engineered. And each new discovery only deepened the mystery. Because individually, these abilities are impressive. But together, they begin to look like something else entirely. For years, scientists believed the great white shark hunted primarily using sight and smell. It made sense. Blood in the water, movement at the surface, a quick burst of speed, and the hunt was over. Simple, predictable. But that explanation began to collapse when researchers noticed something deeply unsettling. Great whites were successfully hunting in conditions where sight was nearly useless. Dark water, low visibility, even complete darkness. And yet, their accuracy didn't drop. In some cases, it improved. This led scientists to investigate a little-known feature embedded within the shark's head: tiny gel-filled pores scattered around its snout. At first, they didn't seem particularly important, just another biological detail. But when these structures, known as the ampullae of Lorenzini, were studied more closely, everything changed. Because these pores don't detect light, they don't detect sound, they detect electricity. Every living organism in the ocean produces weak electrical signals: the beating of a heart, the contraction of muscles. Even the faintest movement creates an electrical disturbance in the surrounding water. Signals so small, they should be lost in the vast noise of the ocean, but not to the great white. Experiments revealed that sharks can detect electrical fields as weak as a few billionths of a volt. To put that into perspective, that's like sensing the electrical activity of a hidden animal buried beneath sand from a distance, without ever seeing it. And it gets even stranger. When researchers created artificial electrical signals in the water, perfectly mimicking the heartbeat of prey, the sharks responded instantly, even when there was nothing there, no movement, no smell, no visual cue, just an invisible signal, and the shark went straight to it, unerringly, as if it could see something no other sense could explain. And if this kind of hidden science fascinates you, the kind that completely changes how you see the natural world, make sure you subscribe now, because what comes next only gets more unsettling. This discovery forced scientists to rethink everything, because this wasn't just an added ability, it was a completely different way of perceiving the world. A hidden sensory layer, operating silently beneath all the others. But here's where the mystery deepens, because detecting electrical signals is one thing, interpreting them with precision in a chaotic, constantly shifting ocean is something else entirely. And the more researchers studied this system, the less it behaved like a simple biological tool, and the more it began to resemble something far more precise than anyone expected. If the great white shark can detect invisible electrical signals, the next question becomes unavoidable. How does it use them? Because the ocean is not quiet. It is a constant storm of overlapping signals, currents shifting, animals moving, electrical noise everywhere. In theory, this should overwhelm the shark's senses. It should be confusing, chaotic, impossible to interpret, but that's not what happens. Instead, great whites move with direction, purpose, accuracy, which led scientists to a second, even more puzzling discovery. The shark isn't just detecting signals, it's navigating with them. Researchers began tracking great white migration patterns across entire oceans. What they found was difficult to explain using traditional models of animal behavior. These sharks don't wander randomly. They travel thousands of kilometers in remarkably straight, consistent paths across empty ocean, with no visible landmarks, no obvious reference points. And yet, they arrive exactly where they need to be: feeding grounds, breeding areas, specific coastal regions, at precise times of the year. At first, scientists assumed memory was responsible. Perhaps the shark simply remembered routes over time. But that theory quickly ran into problems, because even younger sharks, without prior experience, were able to navigate with similar precision. So what were they following? The answer may lie in something even more invisible than electricity: the Earth itself. Evidence suggests that great white sharks can detect the planet's magnetic field, using it as a kind of internal map, a built-in guidance system. By sensing subtle variations in magnetic intensity and inclination, the shark may be able to determine its position in the ocean without ever seeing where it's going. In controlled experiments, when researchers altered magnetic fields around sharks, something remarkable happened. The sharks changed direction, not randomly, but in ways that suggested they were recalibrating, adjusting, as if their sense of where they are had been shifted. This means the great white may be operating with a dual-layer system, one that detects life through electricity and another that maps the world itself through magnetism. But here's where the mystery deepens, because combining these two systems accurately, instantly, and continuously requires something more than simple detection. It requires integration, decision-making, a way to process multiple invisible signals and turn them into action. And the question scientists began to ask was no longer just how the shark senses the world, but how it makes sense of it at all, because what they were seeing was beginning to look less like instinct and more like calculation. If the great white shark can sense life and map its environment, there is still one critical question left unanswered. Why does it almost never fail? Because detecting prey is one thing, catching it in the open ocean is something else entirely. Seals are fast, agile, constantly changing direction. From a distance, the hunt should be unpredictable, messy, imperfect. But when scientists analyzed real attack footage, what they found was deeply unsettling. The great white doesn't chase its prey, it intercepts it. Instead of reacting to where the seal is, the shark moves toward where the seal will be, timing its approach from below, accelerating upward at the exact moment needed to collide with maximum force. In many cases, the shark launches from depths of over 20 meters, reaching the surface in a fraction of a second. There is no time to adjust mid-attack, no room for correction. And yet, the angle is right, the speed is right, the position is exact, which led scientists to a surprising possibility. The shark may be predicting movement, using subtle cues, tiny changes in direction, muscle activity, or electrical patterns. It appears to anticipate its prey's next action before it happens. In controlled observations, seals performing evasive maneuvers still failed to escape when a great white had already committed to the strike. It was as if the outcome had been decided in advance. But what makes this even more mysterious is what happens before the attack, because great whites don't strike every time they detect prey. In fact, they often don't strike at all. Researchers observed sharks approaching potential targets, slowing down, and then turning away at the last possible moment. No attack, no chase, just a decision. As if the shark had already evaluated the situation and determined it wasn't worth the energy. This behavior suggests something unexpected. The great white isn't acting purely on instinct, it's selecting, calculating risk versus reward, choosing the most efficient outcome, and that changes everything. Because now, the hunt isn't just a physical process, it's a cognitive one, a sequence of decisions made in real time, under pressure, with no margin for error. And the deeper scientists looked into this behavior, the more it challenged a simple explanation, because the precision of the strike was impressive. But the restraint, the ability to not strike, was something else entirely, something far more difficult to explain. By this point, the mystery is already unsettling. A predator that can sense invisible signals, navigate without landmarks, and predict movement before it happens. But there is still one more piece of the puzzle, because even if the great white knows exactly when and where to strike, its body still has to keep up. And that's where things begin to defy expectations. For decades, sharks were classified as cold-blooded animals. Their body temperature was thought to match the surrounding water, slow, energy efficient, and limited by the environment. But the great white doesn't behave like a typical cold-blooded fish. It moves too fast, strikes too hard, operates in waters that should slow it down. So scientists took a closer look. What they found was something completely unexpected. The great white shark can generate and retain heat within its own body. Through a specialized network of blood vessels, known as a countercurrent heat exchange system, it is able to warm its muscles, stomach, and even parts of its brain above the temperature of the surrounding ocean. In some cases, significantly above. This discovery changed everything. Because warmer muscles contract faster, they produce more power. They allow for explosive bursts of speed that cold muscles simply cannot achieve. But it goes further than that. A warmer brain processes information more efficiently. Signals travel faster. Decisions can be made in fractions of a second, which means the great white isn't just physically equipped for the hunt, it is neurologically optimized for it. And suddenly, all the previous clues begin to connect. The sensing, the navigation, the prediction, all of it depends on speed, not just in movement, but in processing. And the great white has both. But here's where the mystery takes a deeper turn. Because this system is incredibly precise, it doesn't overheat the entire body, only specific regions. It conserves energy while maximizing performance exactly where it's needed most. A level of efficiency that raises new questions. Because it's not just about having power, It's about having the right power in the right place at the right time. And when scientists stepped back and looked at the full picture, they didn't just see a fast animal, they saw a system, multiple independent mechanisms, working together, seamlessly, each one enhancing the others, each one contributing to a level of performance that feels almost too precise. And that realization led to one final, unsettling question. What happens when all of these abilities operate at the same time? Individually, each of these abilities is extraordinary. Electroreception, magnetic navigation, predictive hunting, internal heat regulation. On their own, they are impressive. But together, they create something far more difficult to explain, because the great white shark doesn't use these systems separately, it uses them simultaneously, and that changes everything. Imagine what the shark is experiencing in a single moment. It senses the faint electrical signature of a seal, hidden somewhere above. At the same time, it knows its exact position in the ocean, guided by Earth's magnetic field. Its muscles are already warmed, primed for explosive movement. Its brain is processing incoming signals, calculating distance, timing, trajectory. All of this happening at once, all of it aligning in real time. And then, without hesitation, it moves, not randomly, not reactively, but with a level of coordination that suggests something deeper. Because for this to work, each system must not only function, it must communicate with the others, instantly, seamlessly, without conflict. If even one part is slightly off, the timing fails, the strike misses, the energy is wasted. But that's not what we see. We see consistency, precision, success, which raises a difficult question for researchers. How do multiple complex systems, each with its own function, integrate so perfectly without interfering with one another? Some scientists argue this is simply the result of gradual refinement over time, small improvements accumulating until they form a highly efficient predator. Others are less certain, because when these systems are studied together, they don't appear loosely connected. They appear coordinated, interdependent, as if each one only makes full sense in the presence of the others. And that creates a tension in the scientific discussion. Is this just an extreme example of natural optimization? Or does the level of precision, the layering of capabilities, suggest something more structured than we currently understand? There is no simple answer, only a growing realization. The great white shark is not just a collection of traits. It is a fully integrated system, and systems like this force scientists to ask different kinds of questions. Not just how something works, but why it works so well. And that question leads directly to the final revelation. For decades, scientists tried to understand the great white shark by studying its parts, its senses, its muscles, its behavior. Each discovery answered one question, but created another. Because nothing about this animal operates in isolation. The real shock came when researchers stopped looking at the shark as separate systems and started looking at it as a whole. What they found was unsettling. Every ability the great white possesses, electroreception, magnetic navigation, predictive timing, internal heat regulation, only reaches its full potential when working together. Remove one, and the entire system becomes less effective, not slightly, significantly, which suggests something deeper than simple accumulation. Because this isn't just a powerful predator, it's a synchronized system where sensing, processing, and action are tightly connected in real time. The shark doesn't just detect prey, it identifies it, tracks it, predicts it, and intercepts it, all within a single continuous sequence. No pause, no separation, no visible trial and error. And that's the part that caught scientists off guard, because the ocean is one of the most chaotic environments on Earth. Unpredictable, noisy, constantly changing. And yet, within that chaos, the great white operates with clarity, precision, consistency, which leads to a realization that is difficult to ignore. This level of coordination doesn't just depend on individual traits being effective, it depends on them being aligned, working in harmony from the very beginning. Some researchers see this as the peak of natural refinement, an extreme example of how far biological systems can be pushed. Others look at the same evidence and see something that feels unusually precise, almost as if the system was structured to function as a whole, not gradually assembled, but inherently coordinated. And that is the mystery, because no matter which explanation you lean toward, one fact remains: the great white shark doesn't just survive the ocean, it understands it, in ways we are only beginning to grasp. In the end, the great white shark forces us to confront something deeper than fear, not just a predator, but a question, because the more we study it, the more it challenges the way we think about life itself. We often assume nature is a series of simple steps, small changes, building slowly over time, explaining everything we see. But creatures like this complicate that picture. They remind us that understanding how something works is not always the same as understanding why it works so well. The great white exists at the edge of that question, a living system where precision, power, and perception come together with almost unsettling efficiency. And whether one sees it as the result of long natural processes or something that appears remarkably well designed, it demands the same response: recognition, respect, and a sense of humility. Because out there, beneath the surface, in a world we barely understand, there are systems operating with a level of coordination and effectiveness that still challenge our best explanations. And perhaps that's the most important realization of all. Not that we have all the answers, but that there is still so much left to discover.